the morning, 8 in the morning, Los Angeles time.
Okay.
The Chiedro Sorev. We're asking about the Soyer Mishtaleach. Hi Harold, if you have many
Hi.
goats, let's say you shechted one of the goats and you spilled the blood and you have to start again. You have to bring 2 other goats and do another lottery. Now you have 2 goats. Well, you can't send more than 1 goat because you can't. It says 1 goat, not a herd of goats, to be sent away. So then they said, well, you can't. Also, it says if it becomes possible, you only burn 1 goat. You don't burn a whole herd of goats. So the Gemara says, by the burning of the goats, it doesn't say l'shalach oso lazazel hamidbara. By the sending it to the azazel, it says oso, which implies only 1. But by the burning of the sa'ir, that if it's possible, there's no miyut oso, so you in a chanami, technically you might be able to burn multiple of them once. But the question is, if you have multiple goats that you've chosen as lazazel, which one do you send? Itmar Rav Papi Mishmei Rav Amar, Rishon Mishaleach. The first one that you did the lottery, that's the one you send. The Rav Shimi Mishmei Rav Amar Achron Mishaleach. No, you send the last one, which you're actually going to do the kapara with, or the last one that you did. This is the one now that's ready to go. You do the last one. So Bishlam Rav Shimi Barashi Mishmei Rav Amar Achron Mishaleach Ksavar Hoyel V'Gomer B'Kapara. I understand you send the last one because that's how it's with that goat that the kapara is going to be done. Ella Rav Papi Mishmei Rav Amar. Why does he say the first one? That means whenever you have a choice between multiple things to do for a mitzvah, you do the one that was chosen first. The Gemara wants to know, hey Rabbi Yosi, which Rabbi Yosi are we referring to? Rabbi Yosi de Kupos. Is it the mission of Rabbi Yosi by Kupos to Snan Rabbi Yosi Omer? Shalish Kupos shall shalish so'im. There were 3 boxes labeled Aleph Beis Gimel that they used to put their shkolim in. Shebehen Torah Mesalishka. Vayi Kosav Aleim Aleph Beis Gimel. V'tanya Amar Rabbi Yosi Lama Kosav Aleim Aleph Beis Gimel. Later is a minister Rishon. Lavi Yemen Rishon Shemitzvah Rishon. So you needed to label it Aleph Beis Gimel, so you knew which one to bring it first from, because there's a concept of mitzvah Rishon. So the Gemara wants to say that here also by which goat you do Barishon, because this Rabbi Yossi. The Gemara says, no, that's no proof. Maybe the reason why you use the first box full of shkolim is because when that box got filled, the second box wasn't even full of anything. So the second box was not roy when the first box was roy. Ela Rabbi Yossi de Pesach. The Rabbi Yossi that talks about mitzvah Barishon is talking about the Rabbi Yossi of Korban Pesach. That's not. Hamafrish Pischo V'Avad. The person found a sheep that he liked. He designated it as the Korban Pesach. Then he lost it. V'Yifrish Acher Tachta. And then he was mafresh a second sheep as a replacement. Then you find the first one back. Now you have 2 sheep. The Chacham say you can choose whichever one you want to bring it from. Rabbi Yossi, mitzvah barishon. Here's the concept that whenever you have a choice of things, you always do the one that was the first. However, if the second sheep happened to have been nicer, then you use the nicer one. New parak. Parak Shishi, Shnei Seirei. Shnei Seirei Yom Kippur. The 2 goats that they did the lottery on, one La Hashem, one La Zazel. Mitzvason Shiyushneim Shavim. There was a mitzvah min amufcher that you had to buy 2 goats that were Shavim B'Mare, that looked the same. Uvekoma, height. Uvedomim, their cost. You have to buy the 2 at the same purchase. Now, let's say you missed one of these criteria. Aval pisha ein shavin ksherin. It's not a ma'akev. If they were not the same, it's still kosher. If you bought one today and one the next day, it's also kosher. Now, what if you bought two and meis echad mehem, one of them died? Now, it depends. If the goat died, imat shelo higril meis, it died. One of the goats died before you did the lottery. Yikach zug l'sheni. So all you have to do is bring another goat to be a pair for the remaining goat. It's more complicated if one of them dies after the lottery. Im mishihigril meis. So then you need to replace one of the goats. But what you do is yavi zug acher. You bring another pair of goats, and you do another lottery on the pair of goats. V'yagril aleim batchila. V'yoymar, and you say in a t'nai, im shel, you don't know which goat had died. The two goats you did hagrola, but before you got a chance to label which one was which, one of them died and they had gotten mixed up. So you don't know. So you have to say on the Yoimar, im shel shemeis, if the one La Hashem was the one that died, the goat that who comes up Hashem, that one will be the replacement of the one that might have been La Hashem that died. The Imshal Azazel maze, and if the goat that was destined to go Azazel, that the Azazel one would be that one. And then, I guess here you did know which one had died. I guess maybe you had put a marker on one. So if the one that died was the Azazel one, so you replace it with the one that had come up Azazel. And Vasheni Yirat Shistoy V'mocher. And then the second goat of this new pair that you brought to do a new agrola from would go out to the pasture until got a mum, the Yiplu Dabam V'Nadafa, and then you would sell it, and its money would be used to buy olos. Even though normally a chatas animal that belonged to an individual person, if, for example, it got replaced, it lost, and you replaced it, and then you found one, it goes lemisa. But these korbanos were korbanos tzibur, and there's a principle: ein chatas tzibur mesa. There's no such thing that you send a chatas that belongs to the tzibur, because Netzach Yisrael, there is no the Klal Yisrael as a tzibur can never die. A yochid can die, but not the klal. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Thomas, but Rabbi Yehuda argues with the Tanakama and says that the remaining goat is put to death. Comes Rabbi Yehuda to say another interesting halacha. Odam Rabbi Yehuda. Nishbach Adam Yomus HaMishtalech. So you have the two goats. You do a lottery on one of the goats, and it's Lashem, the other one's Lazazel. And you shecht the goat Lashem, and you have the blood. And now the blood spills. So rather than just do Hagrola and replace the one goat Lashem, the one that the blood is spilled, because you need new blood. Rather, Rabbi Yehuda says, you kill the Mishtaleach, and now you got to start again with a new Hagrola. And if before you had sprinkled the blood, Mesa Mishtaleach, the goat that was supposed to be sent out Lemidbar, you shafech Hadam, you have to get rid of the blood. So we'll have to understand later on the Shita of Rabbi Yehuda. Ton Rabbanon, Yikach Shnei Seirei Izim. The pasuk says you have to purchase two Seirei, which also l'chor is plural, Izim. Miut Sheirei Shnayim. Minimal plural of goats is two. So we know already two. So Matamad Lomer Shnei. So why did the pasuk have to say two? Sheyu shneim shavim. That this teaches me this din that the goats have to look equal. But even though they're not exactly the same, they're kosher. Talmud Lomer soyer riba. It says twice soyer to say that it's an inclusionary statement that even though they don't look exactly the same, you can use it. So time in Rabbi Rachmana, because the Torah spent the time to write another word soyer. How loy Rabbi? If the Torah had not done that, hava mina psulin. I would have had a hava mina to say that if the goats don't look the same, it would be puzzle. Well, how ikuva minolan? Where do you see in the psukim that if it wasn't exactly as it's supposed to be, that it doesn't work? Because salkatai dechamina shnei ksiv. It says 3 times shnei to tell me that it's li'ikuv. Hashad Rabbi Rachman is sorry. But now that the Torah said is soyer, that means even if it's not the same, it's at work. So shnei lamali. Why did you need the third shnei? To teach me chad lamara, chad lakoima, chad ladomim. The goats have to be the same in their appearance, in their height, and in their expense. And just like the 2 goats liyom kippur, tanyamachi gabi kivse mitzora. When the mitzora came for purification, there were also two sheep. It says yikach shnei chavosim, plural. Miut chavosim shnayim. The word chavosim is plural, so we already know you're starting with 2. So matam lomer shnei. Each mishu shneim shavim. The goats also there have to look the same. Even if you don't fulfill this criteria that they look the same, how do you know that they're kosher? Talmud lomer keves riba. It says twice keves to something. Even if it doesn't look the same, it's okay. Fine. Time Rabbi Rachmana. Because the Torah wrote it, Allah Rabbi, if the Torah hadn't done that, Havamina Psulin. Where do you see the Kuvaminolan? It says it shall be. And therefore, if you don't do it that way, it's not good. So Hashad Rabbi Rachmana Keves. So now that you have this special ribui Keves, no matter what it is, so Tia Lamali, why did the Torah write Tia? Lishar Havyosa Shemitzor, all the other dinim of the mitzvah, if you don't do it, it's market. It also says by the mitzvah purification, tzipoirim, shnei tzipoirim, 2 birds. Now birds is plural. Miut tzipoirim shnayim. So the matam elomer shtei. What do I need shtei for? Sheyu shtei and shavos. The birds need to look the same. But if they don't look the same, it's still kosher. Talmud loymat tzipor riba. It says twice tzipor. To tell me no matter what kind of bird, even if they don't look the same. Fine. Time Rabbi Rachmana. That's because the Torah did it. Hello, Rabbi Rachmana Psulos. Where do you have the Havamina, Yikulaminolan, that it wouldn't be good? Again, there also, Salkatai Chamia Tiaksiv. It says Tia, it's got to be the way it's done. Hashad Rabbi Rachmana Tzipor, Tia Lamali. The Tia is what for? Lishar have also shown Mitzvah. The other dinim of the Mitzvah, if you don't do it exactly correctly, then it's not good. The tamid of every day. Nami nema chvasim. There also says shnei chvasim. Miut chvasim shnaim. In the methodology we've used tonight, we see that since it uses a plural word, the minimum plurality is always 2. So then my tamid lomer shnayim. Why did it have to say 2 kvasim? Shiyu shnei and shavim. So when you went out and purchased the shnei kvasim per day, 1 in the morning, 1 bein arbayim, you have to try to find them to be equal. Minayin shavim pishein shneim shavim ksherim. If you didn't find them the same and you shechted them anyways, Talmud lomer keves riba. It works because the Torah says keves. So maybe you need to use it. Maybe it's only the mitzvah only. It says Shnayim layom olat tamid. It teaches us where you shecht it. Keneged ayom, opposite where the sun rises. Maybe it refers to the fact that you have to do it twice a day. So kishu oimer sakeves echod taseh vaboiker, vesakeves hasheni taseh bin arbayim arichoves hayamamor. So that already tells us when you have to do it. So uma ani makayim shnaim layom kineged ayom ketzad tamid shel shachar. The morning tamid was shechted al keren sloinis maravis on the northwest corner al tabashnia by the second ring, because it's kineged ayom. It's near the mizbeach because the sun rises in the east. So you need to be as far away from the east. That's why the shoichet stands on the west in the morning, away from Keneged. Keneged can be translated opposite. So in a sense, you're shechting it opposite where the sun rises. Sun rises in the east, so you shecht it in the west. Shel ben arbayim, the tummy that was shecht in the afternoon is the opposite, because the sun sets in the west. So you're going to do it Keneged, opposite hayoim, which will be in the east, right? The eastern horn, Sloinis al Tabashni. Musaf in Shabbos, Father Chicken Shushtein Shabbos. But the Shnei Kvasim that was offered as the Korban Musaf, that there is no out. That has to be done. They have to be same. Badai, Shnaim Shavim Likuva. Because it doesn't come in to be Marbeh. There's no psukim like by the other places where there was a ribui. Ton Rabbanon, Shnei Sirim HaKippurim, Sheshachlan Bachutz, Ad Shelo Higril Alein. You have two goats. You have not done the lottery on either of the goats. Now, we know there's a din of Shchutei Chutz. You're not allowed to shech the korban outside of the azor of the Beis HaMikdash. Let's say you shech. Now, one of these goats is not a korban. It's sent lazazel. It's not a korban. A korban has shechted, and the blood is thrown on the mizbeach, right? The azazel is not a korban. So if I take these two goats before I did a hagrala, and I shechted both of them, chayiv al shneihem. You're chayiv on both of them for shchutei chutz. So the obvious question is, I understand why I'm chayiv on one, because one of them was going to be shechted as a korban l'Hashem, but one of them is going to go lazazel. Well, but we don't know which one, right? One of them is going to be, so right now, each has the potential to be the one that was going to be shechted as the korban, and therefore maybe that's why if I shech both of them, I'm chayiv for both of them, even though one of them is not destined to be a korban. Then if mishihigril alein, but now I did the lottery, and one was chosen LaShem, and one was chosen LaZazel, I shech both of them. Chayiv al shoshemu potro al shalazazel. Well, that makes sense. I'm only chayiv for the one that's going to be a korban LaShem. The other one's going to be lazazel, so I'd be potter for that for shkutei chutz. So the Gemara analyzes. Ad shelo higalim chayiv al shneim. So if you shechted before you did the lottery on either of them, you shechted both of the animals. We said you're chayiv for two. The Gemara says lamai chazu. Well, first of all, you shouldn't even chayiv one, because you haven't designated either of them as a korban. Well, what are these goats that before Agrala, they're not for anything? No, one of these is going to be the soil that's done, in the Azara. Now, now, the soil that's going to be done in the Kodesh Kodosh, one of the Sa'irim also could be used for the Korban Musaf. There was a Sa'ir Bat Lachatis for later on, after the Avod in the Kodesh Kodoshim, there was a Musaf. One of the Korbanei Musaf on Yom Kippur is the Sa'ir. So since be served for that as a korban, So, understand. Why aren't you chayiv for the so'ir that was going to be done in Kodesh Kodesh? The mechusar hagrola, because you haven't done the hagrola yet. So you can't do the so'ir for the musaf until you finish all the avodas hayom kippurim, the toires, all the avodah lifnai v'lifnim. So it's also not roy yet for the musaf. You know what? Since today, it's today, for it as musaf. Yes, I understand. It's not going to be offered later on in the day after all these things have been done. But that's not called a defect. It's not called mechusar zman. Ravina hashgam Rav Chisda mechusar grola mechusar ma'asudami. Now that we've seen that Rav Chisda holds that if you didn't do a hagrola, it's like you haven't done the ma'aseh that you need, and the soil is not right for the korban. Hadam Rav Yidam Shmuel Shlomim, based on that concept, Shlomim sheshachtam kodim sheniftachu dalta sahechol psu. The first act in the morning in the Beis Hamikdash was you have to open the doors. Now, if I shechted a shlomim before I open the doors, they're going to be pasul. Shenemar ushchato pesach al moed. The shlomim has to be shechted in front of the opening. Bisman shu pasuach, although bisman shu no. When the doors are closed, then it's not. There's a lack in pesach al moed, and you can't be makriv shlomim unless the doors are open. Okay. So tomorrow we're going to learn at 8 o'clock in the morning, which is